prior to the meeting moving into private, and there might be a short delay. A recording of the public part of the meeting will be available on the Council website within 24 hours of the meeting. Would all members and officers please remember to switch your microphones on when speaking and speak directly into them and switch off when finished. Any officers called upon by the portfolio holder should address the executive using the presenting officer microphones at the rear of the council chamber. And can I ask you all to switch off your mobile phones or put them on silent, please? Right. Apologies for this evening. I have Councillor Simmons.
And Councillor Lovell, Chair.
And Maria Levels. Right, okay. Do we agree with the published records of the meeting? Okay. Any members affected by Section 106? Khadija?
Item 5.1 as a member of the Luton Rising.
Okay, thank you. That's declarations, right? Okay, and same with you, James. Okay. Any disclosures of interest? And that's what you've both have done. Anybody else? No? There's no matters in general exception covered by the forward plan and business covered by the forward plan, sorry. Right, there is an item for special urgency, and that is around the football club at Kenmouth Road, and you have been circulated electronic papers because it was done at the last moment. So Javed, I understand it's you.
Thank you, Chair. Executive is recommend to full council to approve an additional unavoidable one-off expenditure of up to 400,000 to be funded from the major projects reserve. The reserve to be replenished from future capital receipts. As you were all aware, Luton Town were successful in getting promoted to Premiership. That comes with its own challenges, both for us as a council and for the football club. So for us to meet our obligation to safety, we need additional CCTV cameras. We need to do some repair up path, which is not adequate. And for that, this wasn't budgeted for. So as a net consequences of that, we need to go to full council to approve up to 400,000, and the authority needs to be delegated to the Corporate Director for Inclusive Economy in consultation with the Section 1 and the portfolio holder for highways. Any questions?
Questions, Tom? Tom?
I would have hoped all the councils support this. We get a lot of the money back by various ways, but the last thing we can afford is for the officers to hold up negotiations to get, 20 or 30,000 pound back, because the town and everyone in the town is going to benefit from this. And on top of that, the reason I like it is with the extra cameras going up, a lot of them are along a fly tipping route. So we've actually had cameras on that fly tipping route as well. So I love the idea of it. I hope we can all support it for the sake of the town, and the fact that the officers are negotiating with other bodies to get some of the money back is a win-win for us.
I've been down that alleyway and it's terrible for fly tip, I agree. James?
Yeah, just a brief question on paragraph 9. It mentions how initially they did think they may have to do Beach Road and Ash Road resurfacing works, and they found them at the moment to be adequate. Is that going to be kept under review, and if it ever does need to be done, they might have to come back for a separate request? Yeah,
absolutely. That'd be separate. So that can wait. The assessment originally we looked at it, and the additional cost, we've determined that it'll still be kept under review. So we'll try and get into a future resurfacing program.
Rob, and then I'll have David. Sorry. Oh.
Okay. Yes, certainly agree with the recommendations. Happy to let the Section 151 officer and portfolio holder to negotiate and work with this. The report does indicate they may look to replenish some of the monies back into the programme. But one thing we have to bear in mind that when Brighton Hove Albion went up to the Premier League in their first season, They received £24 million for the local economy in that 1 year. So we need to bear that in mind as well when we don't want to hold this up, and it's the right way to do it. And I support it, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. David?
Yeah, thank you, Aslam. I'm quite happy to support this, of course, but I've got a bit of a query over the paragraph Little Roman 4, in paragraph 11. Other enabling regulatory works in Bury Park and town centre areas. Just wondered if we could have some idea of what that's all about, please.
Javed, do you know?
No, it's paragraph 11 in the middle of then on the following page, you've got 1 to 6 in Little Roman numerals. It's 4. Other enabling regulatory works, it starts.
I will ask the officers to respond to Sue.
Any officers with the clarity?
Yes. Hello, Councillor Hussain. Thank you. Sue Frost, Acting Corporate Director. Just on that clarification, I think this was following a walkabout by officers. We've been looking around the area, and I think we considered that we might need to have some additional officer presence around there. It could be to do with the look and feel, but it could also be to do with parking on match day. So I think we've put that in, and we hope if we do feel that we need it, that we would be able to recover those costs.
Good.
But no, it's a bit vague, but obviously they haven't made their minds up what they need to do yet. So it looks to me like a sort of contingency.
I mean, yeah, just to come back on Councillor Frank's point, yes, I think to some extent it is putting some resource in place just to make sure that, we've got enough coverage when they do start the new season, because we know that there's going to be a lot of television coverage, and obviously we want it to look reasonable in the area. So it is a bit of a contingency. This is, to some extent, as it says in the report, these are estimates at the moment, because it's work in progress. It's all been done quite quickly to try and help the football club achieve the deadlines that they're aiming for, at the beginning of the season. So although we've had to come to executive now, some of these costs are estimates at the moment, hence the delegation in the report to the corporate director should the costs change slightly.
Thanks, Sue. So we agree with the recommendation? Yeah? There are no references from other committees. Sorry. Yep. That's right, yes. The executive is recommended to approve the resolution from full council to request Luton Rising to commission an assessment of the impact on the traffic.
Chair, just want to...
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah, sorry. Can you... And the modelling of any removable access from Eaton Green Road with a view to informing any representation that it may in due course wish to make objecting to the proposed access to the airport via Eaton Green Road on the grounds of the council's wish to support its own local plan 2011 to 2031, formally adopted by the council in 2017. There was a motion which was passed and everyone agreed, and all we asking for the executive is to approve the recommendation. We all okay? Yep. Yep, so if you can get those. Yeah, thank you. Right, there's no recommendation from scrutiny, no petitions, and we move to inclusive growth and finance. revenue and benefits. So, Rob, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. This report sets out the provisional revenue and capital outturn position for the financial year 2022-23 and has to be viewed within the wider context of the 160 million austerity savings since 2010 and a fall in Luton's core government grant from the 120 million in 2010 to 11 million in 2023. 2022 and 23 was a year of volatility and challenges set out against a backdrop of economic and political instability. Many factors have had a pervasive impact on the Council and its finances, impeding full delivery of savings targets and compromising the ability to accurately forecast outturns. These include increasing demand on services, in particular homelessness, temporary accommodation, refugee issues, recruitment challenge, a higher than budgeted pay award, reduction in employers' national insurance contributions, rising interest rates, 30-year high inflation and cost of living crisis, legacy effects of COVID. Because of these factors, the finances for 22-23 were complex and challenging. This led to some fluctuation in the general fund forecast outturn, in particular regarding uncontrollable departmental spend, which is the impact of employee pay award, inflation and COVID pressures, and the extent to which these would be covered by contingencies and reserves. An overview of the general fund outturn position is shown in Table 2 of the report. This shows department net spend was 15.3 million, more than the overapproved budget of this figure. 7.65 million related to pressures beyond the control of the department's pay award, price inflation and COVID. 7.665 million related to core services, base costs and income. Whilst this is consistent with Q3 forecast, after allowing for one of the costs and grants in 22-23, the underlying department pressure is 10.7 million. The 15.3 million total department overspend was offset by an allocation of contingencies, a pension fund account surplus and treasury-related underspend, resulting in the general fund spend of 148.4 million, in line with the budget approved by the full council on February 2022. Savings of 5 million were built into the 22-23 budget. The provisional outturn shows 3 million of these were delivered. Full details are in Appendix A, but the main shortfall relates to parking enforcement, temporary accommodation, adult social care transport and council tax enforcement income. Section 4 of the report provides detailed information on the main reasons for the 7.665 million overspend per department. These have been reported in the main throughout the course of the year. General fund unreserved balances remain at 14 million. General fund earmarked reserves increased by 1.7, mainly due to carry forwards of budgets to be spent the following year. The 23-24 budget and medium-term financial plan is challenging and is based on a very uncertain fiscal and political environment. The underlying of 10.7 million of services cost pressures present a risk to the council's financial sustainability, requiring robust measures to prevent the full impacts becoming embedded in the council's cost base and adding to the existing mid-term financial pressure budget gap. Departments have been working on their deficit recovery plans to address the underlying pressures for the service areas. Executive will be appraised the progress via the quarterly budget monitoring reports. The outlook for the council's future budget position remains both difficult and complex, with several interconnecting risks across the core finances and the expected ongoing impacts of the slowing down of the economy, increases in interest rates and inflation. All officers and members remain focused on providing the best possible outcomes for the people of Luton. On the capital expenditure, there is only one major issue to be resolved with regard to unfunded spend, and this relates to the work carried out in dilapidations at Arclight House, an investment property building owned by the council and situated in Swindon. A report to the executive is expected later this year to address the reasons behind the pressure spend of 1.8 million and to provide solutions. With a higher element of the capital programme adjusted at budget setting time for 23-24, the element of final slippage is minimal against the revised capital programme. In fact, a number of projects drew down funds early to match spend in 22-23, with no reported impact on the forecast cost of completion. The underspend reported in the Table 1, paragraph 44, mainly represents reprofiled debenture loans to Lau and Vauxhall Homes, with some underspend reported against HRA projects due to staffing and programming issues faced by the services. Excuse me. On the other funds, Housing Revenue account, the 22-23 HRA budget was set with a contribution to balances of 2.4 million, in line with regulations that require contributions from revenue to support capital improvements and additions to the housing stock. The final position is an overspend of 1.271 million compared to the original budget, primarily relating to an increase in materials for repairs and maintenance, given a final contribution to balances of 1.148 million for the year. Dedicated school grant, there was a net overall spend in the dedicated school grant of 0.817 million, comprising an underspend of 0.215 million in the centrally retained schools budget, and an overspend of 1.032 million in individual school budgets. The Public Health Fund, public health grant received for 22-23 was 16.172 million, of which 0.285k was unspent and will be transferred to public health. I recommend the Executive to note the provisional outturn for General Fund, Capital and other funds, and regarding the General Fund position, the actions being taken by directors to address the underlying pressure for their service area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Rob. Do we have any questions? Do we agree with the recommendations? We now move on to inclusive economy regeneration and inclusive growth. Step forward, a place brand for the town. That's over to James.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and keep this brief because I think we've all seen this various times now and it's been through all the proper channels. So over the last 10 months, officers have been working on a new place-based branding for the town, and this has been externally funded through grant funding. And the three key aims of the campaign are to raise aspirations of Lutonians, show off the town to potential new investors, and is a new brand confidence, a statement of confidence in the town. And I think we can all agree the timing of this couldn't be more opportune with the club just being promoted. I think we can all agree that the branding of Step Forward Luton as well all works as well, and it's sort of engendered a real sense of community and togetherness within the town that I think we can enhance and push forward. As I say, and it is particularly a critical time for the town as well because there are multiple developments that could benefit from such place-based branding. Power Court, DCO, Stage, and obviously the airport as well. So Step Forward Luton will be driven by external ambassadors, not just voices within the council, but from the community as well, and they've had full engagement through the whole process. So we'll have people from various different sectors, from voluntary, heritage, community, sports, religious groups, all sorts of people, the wide range of Lutonians. I think we'd all be proud to see stepping forward. The intention is the brand will be soft launched to the public, investors and businesses through a series of campaigns and activities which highlight the many positive aspects of our town. It's important to note that with any new place-based brand, it will take some time to change perceptions, so having a clear and measurable plan will enable us to assess the impact and adapt the programme as necessary. So I'd ask that the Executive formally approve the Step Forward Luton plan and the implementation plan set out in the report. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments? No? We agree with the recommendations? Thank you. We now move on to population well-being, public health and integration, and that's over to Khadija for the grant annual allocation of 22-23.
Thank you. Public health services and programs are funded through a ring-fenced grant provided annually to local authorities. The terms of the grant stipulates its usage, with some statutory services and some flexibility of other services or programs within the local area, within categories of spend allowed within the grant criteria. The paper outlines planned spend for 23-24 for the core grant and plans over 2 years for spend of a proportion of public health grant reserves. A large portion of the spend is on statutory contracts such as sexual health, substance misuse, health visiting, school nursing and NHS health checks, as well as our lifestyle wellbeing service. Other grants have been received for delivery of the National Combating Drug Strategy and the Family Hubs. Plans for use of the public health reserves are given. This includes salary costs for previously agreed fixed-term staff to deliver the ambitious work programme, and additional funding for our big strategic programmes including health inequalities, tobacco, physical activity and healthy weight. The final reserve amount varies year on year due to the demand-led services within the sexual health contract. Executive is to note the annual allocation of the Public Health Grant 23-24 to Luton and the allocation of spend and the plans of the allocation of public health reserves funding.
Thank you, Khadija. Any questions? No, we agreed with the recommendation? Thank you.